Thanks for joining me on episode 730 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
I'm Joe Shum from Soul Patch Hippo Success Coaching. I want to serve your journey to be the next version of you, to be inspired to become the most authentic you. Listen to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast by my friend Scott Mader, every day can help you keep the focus that you need.
The money just magnifies what's already there. And that's why it's so important to begin building the mindsets and the beliefs and the habits and the systems and the processes, regardless of how much money you have. And as you're faithful with the little things, you will get more. But more isn't just about more money.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world.
In today's episode about developing your influence through stewarding your treasures, I talk with you about why I believe that money is the effect of doing the right things, not the cause, how mindset is more important than you think for your long-term success, and how it's not about more when you're talking about the measure of the effect.
As we talk about stewarding your treasures, wouldn't it be great if you could support this podcast and do it without costing yourself an extra dime? Turns out you can. All you have to do is use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon when you're ready to make a purchase via Amazon, and a small commission will come back to support the show. If you enjoy the show when you're ready to buy from Amazon, just use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon.
As a coach who works with people and their finances, I hear all too often, I'll start getting my finances in order once I make a certain amount of money. I can't do it right now because I'm struggling from an income side. And by the way, that's sometimes said even when people have what most people would agree is a very good income for the situation that they're in. The truth is that oftentimes the way we look at our situation is very different than the reality of our situation. I have client after client that comes to me and says, my situation is probably the worst one you've ever seen. And ironically, obviously there is one client out there that's a true statement. They are the worst situation I've ever seen. But by definition, that can't be true for everyone. And yet almost every client says that or comes into the situation with that view. Time after time after time. This is probably the worst situation that you've ever seen. And the reality is, usually it's not. See, one of the things that happens, one of the values of coaching is that coach often has a broader perspective. They've seen things that you haven't seen. By definition, even if it was my very first time to coach someone on a budget, I've seen my own budget as well as theirs. So I've seen twice as many. Now, the reality is I've seen probably thousands of budgets over the years between the ones that I've looked at that are my own for every single month and the ones that I've looked at that clients have produced month after month after month. So it's a much broader perspective than even that. And all of this perspective has begun to let me see that the truth is building the habits and doing the right things causes money to behave, causes money to flow into your life. Money is not the cause of doing certain things. Money is the effect of doing those things. If you begin to develop good money habits and good money mindsets and good money behaviors, then by definition, more money will remain in your life. More money will flow into your life. Not in a selfish way, not in a hoarding way. In fact, that's one of the mindsets. You have to have a mindset of generosity and giving. That's one of the fundamentals. But as you do that, Ironically, as you give more, you get more gratitude. And as you get more gratitude, that changes your attitude, that changes your view, and that tends to make you more successful, which creates more money and more blessings. The mindset that we have around money is often the first fundamental. It's the most important thing. And yet all too often people come in thinking, what's the app? What's the tool? What's the magic thing that I can do that will create success for me, that will make money just magically appear or magically behave? Because I don't really want to put effort and work into it. I just want it to work. And always, we have to begin by putting in some work. We have to do the basics first. We have to build the habits and build the muscles. It's like working out. If you want to get physically fit, that takes an input of work. It's not easy to be physically fit. It's also not easy to not be physically fit. Being ill is not easy either. And sometimes, yes, things are out of your control and there's things that you can't do, but there's always some part of it that is within your control. And there always is certain things that you can do. So it's more important to focus on the things that you do have control over and begin to change those. And that includes your mindset and your attitude. Doesn't mean that everyone starts from the same place. It doesn't mean that everyone is equal. It doesn't mean that everything always behaves in a perfect world. The truth is we don't live in a perfect world. But it does mean that you can seize control of those things that you do have control over and begin to build those positive habits. You begin to look at how you believe about the world and how do other people believe about the world, and you challenge your beliefs. You challenge your mindset and you challenge your actions and you begin to do those things. See, the truth is, at the end of the day, when I say money is the effect, it's not about having more money. I know I talked about, yes, that will create an opportunity for more money to flow into your life. But the truth is, the measure of the effect, the measure of the success isn't just the amount. It's about what you do with it. It's about how it affects you. Does it affect you in a negative way or in a positive way? How have you allowed money to change who you are and make you more selfish? Or have you allowed money to change who you are and make you more generous? Have you allowed money into your life in a way that creates more blessings, not just for you, but for others? Or have you allowed money into your life in a way where it becomes a curse and becomes something that weighs you down? See, I've seen both of those happen. And the difference isn't the amount of money. The difference is the mindset and the behavior around that money. Because I've seen people who are greedy and really don't have that much. And I've seen people who have tons of money and act in a greedy way. And I've seen people who have very little who are remarkably generous and kind people with their money. And I've seen people who have a lot who are remarkably generous and kind people with their money. The money just magnifies what's already there. And that's why it's so important to begin building the mindsets and the beliefs and the habits and the systems and the processes, regardless of how much money you have. And as you're faithful with the little things, you will get more. But more isn't just about more money. It's about more peace. It's about more contentment. It's about better communication. It's about feeling like you have control and contentment in your life, even when things are going crazy. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of treasures, you can sign up for our treasures tips by going to inspiredstewardship.com/treasures or text in the U.S. 44222 Treasures Tips. And we'll send you 5 weeks of our best tips on stewarding your treasures. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.